Hello everyone and welcome back to another Babbling Irons video and more transfer news for you. Gianluca Scamacca, someone that's been pretty much talk about to be leaving for the past month or so now. It looks like he's probably going to be set to go in the next couple of weeks, maybe even closer. This coming out from Fabrizio Romano today, saying Inter Milan's next bid for Scamacca will be in the region of 25 million euros, and it could include add-ons, and an agreement is expected to be reached in the coming days. So yeah, it also says that Scamacca has already accepted to join Inter Milan, and a new round of talks have been scheduled. So I think it was pretty clear from our most recent preseason match against Rennes that Scamacca was pretty much going to leave. He started with Danny Ings. He brought Mubama on very early on in the second half, and Scamacca kind of got the last 20 minutes just as a kind of here you go, show me what you can do. But I think him and Moyes don't get on. I think that's pretty clear. It doesn't suit the Moyes style, and Scamacca's just not worked out. It's another striker signing that has turned out to be a failure. Where that lies with, we'll get into. But yeah, I think I'm kind of torn on the whole Scamacca situation because last season it was complete hype when we signed him. We managed to get him from PSG. There were other Italian clubs interested in him, the likes of Juventus, Roma, and we managed to get him. We paid a lot of money, what, 35, 40 million pounds. So it was another kind of Sebastian Haller-esque signing that we wanted to try and work, but it just hasn't. Moyes tried to adapt to a new system at the start of last season. That again didn't work, and he's resorted back to the kind of counter-attacking system that worked for him in the first 2 years at West Ham. And Scamacca's not that type of player, and we don't play the way that suits Scamacca. I mean, you see against Rennes, a lot of time when we don't have the ball, the striker becomes very isolated, which is why I feel for the likes of Danny Ings, and it's probably why Moyes wants Mubama to come into the first team this season because he'll offer a little bit more as a solo striker, similar to what Antonio does. So for me, Scamacca leaving is I'm kind of on the fence with it because we're losing an excellent striker. I know West Ham fans have their divided opinion on him, but I think he's one of the best European strikers we could probably get at the moment. And if he was available right now this season and we were trying to sign him, I think most fans would be absolutely on board with that. He's had a knee injury to deal with during his time at West Ham last season, and in and out of the team in a team that was facing relegation, playing under a manager that couldn't play to his strengths. So we haven't seen the type of Scamacca that we probably should have seen. And Paqueta was the same. We didn't really see Paqueta until the last couple of months of the season. And this preseason he's looked absolutely brilliant, and he looks like the type of player that we all knew he would be. And Moyes didn't, which is my biggest concern with this whole kind of Scamacca leaving thing. Is this was your guy? He had Broja and Scamacca last year as his top two transfer targets. So we're now putting a lot of trust back into his recruitment again this summer, and again it seems scattergun. So was Scamacca part of that scattergun approach? It looks like yes, because it's not a striker that suits how he plays at all. It's not a striker that sits into that system and will work as that solo striker unless we have more possession of the ball and we get players around him. But yeah, for me, Scamacca's a good player. I think we're really silly by letting him go because it looks like, as well, from what I've seen, it's probably unlikely we're going to replace him with Mubama being promoted. Now you can see that as a positive and a negative, but when you're losing a star striker and then your other two options right now are Danny Ings and Antonio, it's not boding well for the start of the season. What, we're in August now. This is the start of the Premier League season this month, so yeah, it'd be a real shame to lose Scamacca after just one season, and we haven't really seen what he can do. But at the same time, I just don't think we will under Moyes. So, I mean, a transfer of what, 25 to 30 million seems right. It seems like the right move to move on for both parties. But it is a shame. It is a real shame that he's going to be leaving because there's definitely a good player in there, and we just haven't seen it. So my biggest concern now is what do we do once he is sold? Because that's another big lump of money that we're going to be getting, and we're still to act on anything. It looks like the Borges deal from Man City, that'll probably be going ahead soon once he's back from his holiday in a week or so. But again, it's a 19-year-old that hasn't got any Premier League experience, which Moyes wants. Ward-Prowse, it looks like we're going to walk away from that at the moment. So now we're probably going to turn to the Tim Steidten targets, which ironically could be a blessing in disguise in the future of this football club, because we're not only going to be getting players that are younger and can develop more, in my opinion, we're getting more talented players if we pick the correct ones, of course. But yeah, Scamacca probably fills into that European category of strikers I would have looked to sign, and is why we were so happy last summer when he did sign on this channel, because we finally thought we got a proper high caliber striker in the at the right age, what, 24, 23 years old when we signed him, and now we're just looking to flog him off again because of a lot of reasons, but all of the problems right now seem to revolve around one thing, and it's pretty clear, and it's David Moyes. And whether that be the off-field antics with the transfers and the approach to what we want to do, whether it be on pitch with the system we're playing with the players we have, or if it be just communication with players, and making sure that man management side of the job is spot on. But yeah, I think Scamacca leaving, I really don't see us replacing him. It could turn out to be the case that we do, because we have looked at a few strikers as well, Balogun being one of those. But again, it's probably going to be expensive. I think 35 million was what Inter Milan offered Balogun before they've gone for Scamacca, and Arsenal holding out for more, 50 million. So players are not cheap, and clubs know we have the money, which is why we have to be smart with it. And we still haven't addressed the biggest issue, which is the midfield. And if we now get into selling Scamacca, that's another department we need to try and recruit in, or we're going to promote Mubama and kind of gamble on that he's being ready for the Premier League and Europa League, which is a risk, a big risk, because he's still a raw talent. So we'd want someone to come in that's kind of ready-made for European football and to compete in the Premier League as well, because I don't think Antonio, Ings and Mubama is enough for what we want to do next season. And, it could be our last season in Europa League football, European football, for a long time, because, the competition in the Premier League is getting so tough right now. And it's unlikely we're going to get in the top 6 or 7 next season with the signings we're trying to make and sticking with David Moyes. So that's just the reality of it, unless we win the Europa League, which again, it's going to be very tough. The likes of Liverpool and Brighton are in there with us this season, and there's a lot of good European teams in there. It's tough because we haven't backed it up this summer. We've lost our best player for a big sum of money, and we just haven't looked like we've incorporated a strategy to replace him. And I was hoping Tim Steidem would have done that. I think he's trying to do that, but obviously parties right now inside the club, it's just a mess. And the reports coming out from inside, it's just so many people involved that it was never going to work. It is the cliche of too many people being involved. It's never going to work, because you're always going to have too many different opinions, and that's what's happening. People are clashing, and you look at someone like Rob Newman, who's still at the club, that people thought he'd gone, but he's still in and amongst the transfer situation. So now the party's even bigger than what most people thought. But yeah, Scamacca leaving, I'm not happy with it, because I know that Scamacca leaving, there's deeper issues to Scamacca leaving. It comes from a deeper issue, and that is within the club and from the manager, and what we're actually trying to do as a football club. I'm kind of glad that the rumours Paqueta's unhappy at West Ham was completely shut down by Paqueta himself earlier, because that would have been another situation that was creating tension within the camp. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be concerned about going into this season. We've got some tough fixtures as well to start off. It's not like we can kind of ease into things, and then once the transfer window ends, we go straight into the Europa League. So we need signings, and we need signings fast, because we're running out of time. And yeah, it looks like all of the targets that Moyes wants, or we're trying to go for, they're not viable options, and they're not options that are going to work for this football club. They might in the short term, which I don't even think they would, but long-term picture, it's just not something that's going to work. And yeah, I think more now than ever, we need to build smart, because like I said, this is probably going to be our last season of European football, unless somehow we do win the Europa League, which is possible, but unlikely. And yeah, top 7 seems a real stretch, with the likes of Aston Villa, Brighton, all these teams strengthening around us. And then obviously the big 6 getting stronger. You'd expect Chelsea to bounce back. Obviously Spurs are building under Postecoglou, another manager we wanted to bring to West Ham. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments about this whole situation. A lot of fans aren't happy with Scamacca and how he's kind of come out in the media with certain things, and maybe his attitude last season. Are you kind of in that camp, or do you kind of feel for him with the move, and maybe there's deeper issues behind why it hasn't worked? And yeah, I think we can expect him to leave this summer. I think it's pretty clear that he wants out, and he's pushing for a move back to Italy. And to be honest, I do not blame him. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hopefully, some more positive news on the next video comes out, but I wouldn't hold your breath at all. But yeah, that's going to be all for today. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel as always, and until next time, come on, you irons.